And relatedly, Josie Bloss wants to know a little bit more about your writing process. What time of day do you write? How do you keep yourself from being distracted other than not listening to music? And do you revise as you go or just all in one chunk?
Oh boy. Well, I have a day job, and so I got to be at work at 8 o'clock. I get up at 5, and I've got 5 cats and a dog. So I have to feed everybody, and that's not my writing process, but I got to get all this stuff out of the way before I can actually sit down to write. So by about 5:30, I'm in front of I've got my laptop in front of me. Sometimes I journal first for a little while just to get my brain flowing in that thought process. And I usually write from 6 to 7. And I can usually get about 600 or 700 words in during that time period. I might revise a little bit of what I wrote the day before, if I feel like I need to in order to get back into the story. So I write in the morning, then I go to work, come home, feed everybody again, feed myself, do whatever needs to be done. And usually between 8 and 10, I'll sit down and write some more. So I didn't used to be able to write in the evenings, but lately I've been writing a lot more then. So,
how do you keep yourself from being too tired at the end of the day?
Oh, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just sort of nod off on it. Because in the evenings I'll sit on the couch and I just get the laptop in there, and next thing you know I'm like, oh, just lean against the couch here for a second.
So let's see here. Stephanie Perkins wants to know what authors or books have influenced you the most as a writer.
Ooh, that's a good question, Stephanie. I don't know. I've probably been a little more inspired by classic authors than current authors. But then I read stuff by my peers that are writing young adult, and I just want to write as good as they do. So I guess pretty much every book I pick up inspires me in some way, shape, or form.
Amber M wants to know how many books you had to write before you got signed by an agent.
Oh, well, Amber, thanks. I have notebooks full of partially finished stories, and I've got a few partials on my hard drive. And I actually only have had one finished book before I got an agent who then got me the book deal. And I still want to write it. It's a fairly ambitious project. It's a middle grade ghost story. So that's about all I can say about it. But it's done. So one, actually, just the one, and a whole lot of partly written stories. A whole lot.
Well, that brings up a question for me, which is, how do you know when to let something go and when to persevere and finish a story?
I get easily distracted. The internet is not my friend. But before that, when I was writing longhand, I'd be writing something, and then I'd get an idea for something else, and I'd start it. So I was like story hopping, it's kind of like dating a whole bunch of people, and the next cute guy comes along, you're like, oh, I think I want to go out with him. And so, you're dropping all these people before you. But I, at some point, just decided if I really am ever going to do this, I really want to finish something. And I attended a workshop that had to write your novel in 30 days, and it was not NaNoWriMo, although I have done Nano, and 16 is actually a Nano novel. But I took this workshop and came home and said, I went and told my next door neighbor, I said, I am going to write a novel, and I'm going to write it in 30 days. And I did. I mean, it was just simply, this is what I'm going to do. I've got to finish one because I have to prove to myself that I can. So it was a question, it was really an internal, I need to prove that I can actually do it.
Just a discipline.
Yeah, and since then, and I gotta say, getting first draft down to me is the hardest part of writing. The fun part is editing, because that's where the story really is formed, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
For me.
Okay, so Teresa R. wants to know, do you feel that it was harder or easier to write your second book?
Oh, hey Teresa, good question. I think it was a lot harder. I was doing edits on 16 and trying to write truth at the same time, and of course it's a continuation of Nina's story, and since I wasn't sure what might change in 16 while I was doing the edits, it was really hard to really get into truth, because what if things changed?
Carrie's question was, Nina is such a great character, and she wants to know if she's anything like you.
Yeah, she is. I'm not going to say which parts of her necessarily, but I think all of the characters that writers write, they draw from experiences they have with people they know, people they have inside of themselves, like we're all kind of, multiple personality, but I think we draw from that. And so, yeah, there are parts of Nina that are definitely like me.
So Melody wants to know, who is your biggest non-literary source of inspiration?
Biggest non-literary source of inspiration would have to be my daughters. They have really been supportive. They've also been pushy. They have also been, critical and non-critical. They've pretty much given me about everything I needed in order to make this happen.
To push yourself to that place.
Right. And to know that they love me no matter what. Even if I'm a huge flop, they're going to love me, and that's really helpful to know.
Well, Carol Dag wants to know, did you grow up wanting to be a writer?
Hey, Carol, good question. And no, I grew up wanting to be an artist and a poet. Pretty much in that order. I would illustrate the poems that I wrote. I'm really glad that those don't, they didn't survive, okay? Really, nobody wants to see little pictures of bird baths with little birds in them and little flowery poems. But I wanted to, those were the two things I wanted to do.
Rebecca Petrick wants to know, what are you working on now?
I'm working on a couple of books right now. One of them is a mystery, and the other one is kind of a thriller.
All right, and our last question is from Katie Carroll, and she wants to know, what has been your favorite moment since becoming a published author?
Oh, hi Katie, how are you? My favorite moment since becoming a published author would have to be the first fan letter that I got. Actually knowing that what I wrote inspired someone enough to seek me out and to write me a note and say, "And what you wrote really touched me." And so that's it, the last question. Mia, thank you so much for being all of these people.
No problem.
It's been great, and thank you all for showing up and helping me launch my book, Truth, and I hope you read it. If you get a copy and you want a signed copy, that's, of course, you can't get that because you're not right here, but I have book plates, and I would show you those, except I don't have them yet. They're on order, and they should be here. And if you want a book plate for your book, signed and personalized to you, just leave me a comment, and I will be glad to do that and send it out to you. And thank you again. Thank you. Bye.